It was late October, Saturday Halloween. I think Halloween was on a Tuesday this year, so the big party night was the Saturday before. My friends and I were still looking for last-minute plans since everything was sold out. Ideally, we wanted to find a house party. We all had pretty funny costumes too, and we wanted to get good use out of them. My friend Kate actually decided to put on her Instagram and Snapchat stories looking for parties tonight. Not something I would have ever done. I'd find that to be kind of shameless and embarrassing, but I was glad she was willing to do it. I was surprised when she texted in the group chat that someone hit her up about a party. Pretty soon after, she sent a screenshot of the details in the group chat. It had an address, start time, and a few ground rules, such as the party would only be indoors, no backyard access, and bring your own booze. It also said must bring at least one girl for every guy. The guy who sent the details to Kate was one of our guy friends around our age who mutually knew a lot of the same people we did. Apparently a number of people we knew were going to this party. The house address was one town over, super close, so between the four of us, we all went to Shauna's house since she had the open crib. We pre-gamed there for about an hour as we all finished up getting ready. We waited till our guy friends confirmed that they were going, then we decided to head over. We called an Uber. We all had our own drinks, varying from Four Locos to White Claws to vodka shooters. The Uber driver was probably sick of us by the end of the drive. When we got to the house, we saw a bunch of cars everywhere. The house was pretty big, a very spacious front yard. We were 4 girls walking in, so surely whoever was throwing this party was gonna love us. We didn't hear any music until we got closer to the door. Then we heard the beating of the bass. I opened the door, and the first room we were in was a cross between the living room and the kitchen. The entire house was very dimly lit, only by a bunch of orange lights hung up, definitely creating a Halloween party ambiance. The place was decently crowded, but honestly, we didn't know anyone. Kate texted the guys we knew to see if they were here yet. In the meantime, some older guy came and greeted us. He asked our names, and he said he's John, Luke's dad. Apparently, Luke was the guy throwing this party. I asked who Luke is, where he goes to school, and he replied, "Oh, he's around here somewhere, you can ask him when you see him." Then he asked us if we wanted to put our drinks in the cooler. He led us into the kitchen where there were 3 big coolers of ice. Each one already had a bunch of drinks in it, so we put some of our cans in the coolers. The John guy seemed like he was 50-something years old, which would make sense if his son was the one throwing the party. But at the same time, it seemed slightly weird he'd be so welcoming and involved in such a big party in his own house. He was going around talking to everybody. Well, it seems mostly the girls. He seemed like he could have also been drunk. The 4 of us played beer pong at one of the tables, where some guys started talking to us, so we started playing them. Kate then said our guy friends were on the way, which I was happy to hear. John suddenly yelled my and Kate's names over by the counter in the kitchen. He was yelling shots. My other 2 friends, Shauna and Tracy, looked slightly offended, so I said, "Can we all have one?" And he yelled, "Yeah, sure." So we went over to the kitchen counter by him and all took a shot of tequila. I gagged because there was no lime. I was definitely starting to get drunk after this. It was odd how much the dad of the house was trying to hype this party up. He had this oddly welcoming yet unsettling presence. The unsettling part because he was much older than the generally college-age people here, and he was pushing drinks on people. Then he asked what our poison is. I wasn't going to say anything until the girls all gave their favorite drinks. John started making a bunch of mixed drinks. In the meantime, we went back to the beer pong table where the guys we were playing were still waiting. I plugged my phone into an outlet just because I was down to like 50%. Then I went back to the game. Mid-game, John came over with 2 drinks for Kate and I, and then he came back with 2 more for Shauna and Tracy. They were all in red Solo cups. He made me a vodka soda. I sipped on it during our beer pong game whenever I had a chance. I was drinking it slow because I was already drunk. After we lost to the random guys, I went to get my phone, only to realize it didn't charge at all. It was still at the same percent. The outlet wasn't working. I didn't feel comfortable leaving my phone on any other outlets, so I just refrained from killing the battery any further. Our guy friends eventually showed up, and it was soon after this point that things quickly became a blur. I mean very quickly. Like 1 second I remember talking with our friend Jeff, the next blacked out. The next thing I remember was my friends waking me up in the car outside my house. I felt woozy. My vision was blurred, my head was spinning. We were in one of our guy friends' cars. One of the guys walked me to my front door and helped me inside, then they all left. I was alone, except for my parents asleep in their room. I felt I must have drank way too much, but I also had a woozy, weird feeling in my head that I'd never felt from drinking. I felt dizzy. I went straight to my room to bed. I checked my phone, and I had some texts from a random unsaved number. I opened it, and there were a bunch of texts already. It started with me texting my name, and then they responded, "John." Uh-oh. After that, he said, "You look so cute." Based on the time he sent this, it was still during the party. There was a 2-hour gap from then until he texted me again saying, "Where did my favorite girls go?" I was shocked at myself that I gave that man my number. I must have been drunker than I thought. But regardless, I lowered my head onto the pillow and fell asleep instantly. The next morning, I woke up to some disturbing texts. As my head was spinning, I read these sickening texts. After I fell asleep, I got texts from John that said, "Where are you? I'm coming to your house. You left something here." Followed by, "I'm here. Can you come to the door?" Followed by, "Hello, are you awake?" He also tried calling me 3 times. This was all at like 2 a.m. I sent the screenshot to my friends, and this was when they reminded me of what happened. John was all over me as I was increasingly becoming a zombie. My friends started getting concerned, so they pulled me away and we left the party. And just as we were leaving, 2 police cars showed up outside, presumably for a noise complaint. And as we left, everyone took note of there being no furniture in the house. It was just a big empty space filled with people and beer pong tables. One of my guy friends looked up the number somehow, and he told me it was a voice over IP number, which I didn't understand, so he just said it was a fake phone number that John texted me from. He also said that with my number, he could easily find my address. I felt even more sick now. I asked if anyone ever met his alleged son, and everyone said no. We were starting to think there was no son, and when Shauna suggested he might have roofied me, it made so much sense. I'd never before felt the way I was feeling. We decided to take this to the police. We all went to the nearest police station and reported everything, including the texts. The cop at the front desk asked if this was in relation to the house party in the vacant house last night. We were at first confused by him saying vacant house, until he explained that there was a call from neighbors about a party going on in a house that had been vacant for some time. We all looked at each other with our mouths gaping. We were all brought into an office to sit down with, I guess, a detective to take down the whole story. He took the fake phone number and said they'll try to trace this back to somebody once they get a warrant. We gave the police everything we could, and we went on our way. I blocked the fake number. I honestly felt sick over this for a while. As the days went on and nothing happened, I was confident it was over. But none of us ever heard from the police. We never heard of any arrests being made or anything. To think that man went out of his way to advertise a house party in a vacant house to have access to young women, roofied me and possibly other girls, lied about having a son, all of this. This was clearly a very, very dangerous man, and the fact that we still haven't been called in to identify anybody scares me to think he's still roaming free. This was a month ago. I'll update if things change, and I'm crossing my fingers that they do.